Hey everyone, so today we are going to be making this crossover version of Stitch and Labubu. So I hope you enjoy this. We do use some one-ply cotton yarn here, as you can see, for the feet and the arms. I'll show you exactly how to do that also for the teeth. We also use one-ply cotton yarn for the eyes. But other than that, you will be using 4-ply cotton yarn in the colors cyan, royal blue, flesh pink, and then you'll also have a tiny bit of this cream white or white, doesn't matter what type of white you have, and then you'll just pull this apart to have 1 or 2 strands, and then the same you will do with the black 4-ply cotton yarn. Just pull it apart, as you can see here, with 1 ply that we've used. And we'll have a little bit of orange for the nose as well, and that's it. So those are the colors we'll be needing. Then we will also need a 1.9mm hook. If you have that, please do use it, but if you want to use anywhere between a 1.75 all the way up to a 3mm hook, no worries at all. And of course, if you have your own type of yarn and your own hook that you're used to, feel free to use that as well. You might have to get a little bit creative with the smaller sections, but other than that, you should be able to do that. This pattern should be universal. You also need a pair of cutters, some pins, which are very helpful, although they are optional. I enjoy using pins to kind of keep things in place, like the ears, before I start sewing. And then of course you will need a sewing needle, which I like to use. This one is kind of a leather needle, and I just find it a lot easier to work through my stitches, and I use this. Okay. Oh, and finally, we will need some fiber filling. Once you have all those materials, we are ready to get started. And don't forget, also, we'll need pink for the ear as well. So we are going to start with our 4-ply cotton yarn, and we're going to just make a magic ring to begin this. Now, for those of you who have never made a magic ring or are very new to crochet, I have a beginner tutorial playlist that you can go check out, learn those skills first, and then come back. This would be sort of beginner to intermediate level of crochet, so you should have some level of crochet knowledge here before you start this pattern. Another thing before we begin as well, I'm just about to make this first single crochet stitch inside my magic ring, but the technique that I use, and I would recommend for amigurumi type projects, is to do the following. So you have yarn coming under the hook first, and then yarn goes over the hook second to complete that stitch. So that's what I want to recommend to you. Yarn over is usually what people will do for crochet, but I just recommend using yarn under, yarn over, or yarn under, yarn under. So if you need help with that, click on the link that's provided here and you can see the differences between those. Alright, so what we're going to do here now is make 6 single crochet stitches in a magic ring. So this is number 3, this one is number 4, 5, and finally number 6, and just keep the tension nice and loose, but not too loose at the same time. And then we'll pull this piece of yarn at the back here to close up that gap for our magic ring. Now, if you want to go on and crochet in a spiral, feel free to do so, no problem at all. I'm going to finish each round with a slip stitch and chain 1 just to show you what it looks like. This is what I've done here. But if you want to crochet in a spiral, feel free to do so. You may just need to make some slight adjustments depending on how straight your stitches are. And I have another tutorial video on that as well that you can go search and find out. Okay, so we want to slip stitch and chain 1. This is not counted as a stitch. We have now finished round number 1, as you can see here. For round number 2 now, we're going to do the following. We're going to make an increase in every single stitch space. So an increase just means, and I'll show you on this next stitch space right here, it means to make 2 single crochet stitches inside the same stitch space. So right now I have made not 1, but 2 increases right here in the first stitch space and then the second stitch space, and I want you to repeat that another 4 times until you have a total of 6 increases, giving you a total of 12 stitches in the round. And then finish off the round with a slip stitch and a chain 1 as well. So here we go, I've just finished round number 2, slip stitch right there. We've got a nice flat sort of surface over here, which is what you want, and then chain 1. Now for round number 3, we're going to be doing the following. We'll start off with a single crochet stitch first, and then we will make in the next stitch space an increase. And it will be as simple as that. So I want you to repeat that again. Single crochet stitch first, followed by an increase, 1, and 2. And now I want you to repeat that another 4 times, and you will end up with 18 stitches in round number 3. Alright, so we just finished round number 3 here. Now for round number 4, super easy. We're just going to make 18 single crochet stitches all the way around. So that's just 1 single crochet stitch per stitch space in round number 3 to finish off round number 4. And we will end up with same 18 total number of stitches at the end of our round number 4. So I'll let you guys do that and then come back ready to start round number 5 together. So for round number 5, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to change yarn colors very soon, or within this round anyway. So we're going to start off with 7 normal single crochet stitches. This is number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and finally number 7. And before we finish number 7, so we've got 2 loops on the hook right at this moment, and this is how you change yarn colors anyway. You are going to change your yarn color to cyan, or at least a lighter blue if you have. And then you'll just weave that through. Give yourself a little bit of a yarn tail over here as well. And then for the next 3 stitch spaces, you're going to be making, in cyan, 3 single crochet stitches. So that's 1. And what I've done as well is I am going to have these yarn tails coming over the top of the hook as I complete that stitch. So here's number 2. And finally, number 3. But here I want to change my yarn color back to this royal blue. So I'm going to grab my royal blue now, and then I'm going to weave that through the 3rd stitch in my cyan. And then for the remaining stitches, of which I think there are 8 in total, you're going to continue with your royal blue yarn. You don't need to weave in this cyan because we are going to be using it in the following rounds as well. So we'll just leave it as is. And something that you may want to do as well, this is if you're crocheting in a spiral. It doesn't matter too much if you're crocheting with a slip stitch and chain 1 at the end. But if you're crocheting in a spiral, something that I do want you to be aware of is to keep those stitches aligned as much as possible. What you should do is, once you pull this loop out, and this is the 2nd loop now that's on the hook, as you grab this yarn and pull it through those 2 loops on the hook, I want you to angle it so that it's vertical, just like that. So you see how I kind of made my hook very vertical, just so I can pull it further towards the opposite end, because naturally what we do is we start pulling it towards this side, and that creates this sort of slant in our pattern, which you don't want. So as much as you can, keep that hook vertical as you're pulling through if you're crocheting in a spiral, and just something you can do normally if you're working amigurumi a lot of the time. So just finish off with those 8 single crochet stitches for round number 5, and then finish off with a slip stitch or chain 1, or use that stitch marker to continue on in the spiral. Alright, we're up to round number 6 now, so we're going to do the following. 1 single crochet stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this will be the last one, number 6, and it's at this one that we're going to change our yarn color to cyan right here. So we'll pull that through, and then in the next 5 stitch spaces, we're going to make 5 single crochet stitches. So there's 1, there's 2, and it's up to you whether you want to weave in this blue yarn as you go along. Completely up to you. I'm going to leave it because I just don't want a little bit of a trail here. Number 4, and finally number 5, and it's on this 5th one that I will swap back to my royal blue color right here. But all I will do is leave a little bit of slack so that it doesn't affect the shape of my character. So give yourself a little bit of slack. And once you have that, then pull the yarn through. And now come under here and grab that slack and have it over the top of your hook. There are many ways to do this, guys. This is just what I'm sort of showing you here. But if you've got another way and you're not fussed about changing those colors, then no problem at all. Do whatever feels right to you. And then we'll finish it off with, how many have we got? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 single crochet stitches in the end there with a slip stitch to finish it off. And there we go. So now we're up to round number 7. The good news now, guys, is for rounds numbers 7 and 8, so the next 2 rounds, you're just going to repeat exactly what you did in round number 6. So guys, go ahead and do that. Change the yarn colors where necessary, but you should end up with 3 rows or 3 rounds that look like this last one here, or round number 6. So continue that now, change your colors where it's needed, and continue on for those 2 rounds, and we'll come back together at the end of those 2 rounds, and then we'll start the following round. There we go. So we've just finished rounds 7 and 8, as you can see here, and now we're up to round number 9. So for round number 9, what you want to do is the following. You'll make 4 single crochet stitches, 1, 2, 3, and 4, just like that. Following this, we're going to do something, and it's called a spike bobble stitch. At least that's what I've called it. So what we do is we're going to wrap the yarn just like we're making a half double crochet stitch. So there we go. So this is where you would normally come after you've wrapped, but we're not going to go there. We're going to find another stitch below, and we're also not going to go here, but this is the space below. So you've got this first stitch space, below it by 1 round, and then below it again by a 2nd round. So this is where we're going to insert the hook right there. As you can see, we've got the first, not regular, 1 stitch space below, 2 stitch spaces below, right there. So you've wrapped the yarn, you've come 1, 2, 3 stitch spaces below, pull the yarn through and pull it up, and then pull it through 2 loops that were on the hook. So now you have 2 loops on the hook. Let's do it again. Wrap the yarn first, come in the same stitch space, pull it up, and pull the yarn through 2 loops on the hook again. One more time. Same stitch space right there, and then pull it up and pull through 2 loops on the hook. So this is now where we have 4 loops on the hook, and all we're going to do here is just pull the yarn through all 4 loops on the hook. And there we go. So there is our first elongated spike bobble stitch, just like that. We'll make 1 more regular single crochet stitch, and at the end of that we're going to grab our cyan colored yarn and pull that through to finish off that stitch there. Following which we will make another 5 single crochet stitches. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5. Oops, we got a little bit of that blue. We don't want that, so we'll just do that again. Pull through and then change your yarn color back to royal blue. Right here, change it like so. Then make 1 single crochet stitch just like that. And then we are going to make our second hand or arm or whatever it's called there. So we're not coming here, we're not coming here, but we are coming right here. So let's wrap the yarn first and go into that next stitch space, elongated stitch space right there, pull the yarn through and pull it all the way up, and then pull the yarn through 2 loops on the hook. Wrap again, same stitch space, pull the yarn up and through 2 loops on the hook. Now we have 3 loops left on the hook, and let's do it one more time. Wrap the yarn into that same stitch space, pull up the yarn and pull through 2 loops on the hook, and now we have 4 loops on the hook just like that, and we will pull the yarn through all 4 loops on the hook. And there we go, we've just completed that second arm right there, which is awesome. Okay, from here we're just going to finish it off now with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 single crochet stitches, and then depending if you want to finish off with a slip stitch and chain 1. So there we go, we've just made those beautiful elongated spike bobble stitches right there. For round number 10, we are going to do the following. So we're first going to make a single crochet stitch just like normal, nice and easy. But here is where we're going to start putting in some decreases, and these are specifically called invisible decreases. And it's super simple. All it means is that you come and insert your hook through the first front loop of the next stitch, and then directly into the second front loop of the next stitch right there. Then pull the yarn through and pull the yarn through, and there you go. You have just made 2 single crochet stitches now into 1, and that is an invisible decrease. Let's repeat. So single crochet stitch first, followed by an invisible decrease right here. And before we finish off this invisible decrease, this is where we will change our yarn color to cyan, as you can see here. So we're just going to weave that cyan color through those 2 loops that are on the hook to finish off that invisible decrease, like so. Okay, so now let's continue that same pattern. Single crochet stitch first, followed by an invisible decrease, just like that. Single crochet stitch, boom, followed by invisible decrease, but we need to change our yarn color here to royal blue. So let's change it where we can, pull through those 2 loops, nice. And at this point we are up to the next stitch. Give this a little bit of a pull here, and all we're going to do is weave in that cyan tail at the end for a few stitches just to secure it in place. So single crochet stitch first, just like that, followed by invisible decrease, and keep that yarn, cyan yarn, on top of the hook as you complete those stitches. So there's the invisible decrease right there. And then let's repeat it one more time. Cyan tail is above the hook, and we don't need to work the cyan anymore. It's pretty much secured in place, and here we'll finish off with our invisible decrease. And just before you finish this final decrease right here, we're going to change our yarn colors to flesh pink. So that's flesh pink if you have it, or whatever Labubu style color you want for your head. So we've got the flesh pink now, and then we'll come into that very first stitch of the round. If you're crocheting with a slip stitch and chain 1 at the end of each round, this is what you'll do. Otherwise, you'll just crochet in a spiral. So you're going to make the slip stitch and chain 1. And you may have noticed I had all of these yarn tails be woven into that stitch, that slip stitch and chain 1 as I went along. Now we can also cut the cyan and blue colored yarns because we won't need them anymore for at least the body and the head at this point. So we'll get rid of those, and now we're just going to be working only and solely with flesh pink colored yarn. Now in the very first, actually for this entire round, you'll be working in the back loops only. So let's get a start on that. So let's work in the back loops. We've got a single crochet stitch first, followed by an increase, 1 and 2 single crochet stitches in the same stitch space. Back loop again, single crochet stitch first, followed by what you guys are getting used to now as the next increase. There we go. We've got a little bit of royal blue in that, so I'm going to just pull that out, get it away, and do that again, because we don't want to get any other yarn color caught up in this. So let's just complete. Let's move this away, move it down, and just finish off with that increase. There you go. And now you're just going to continue on with the same pattern all the way around, but making sure you're working in the back loops only. That's the only thing you need to remember. It's not the worst thing in the world if you don't, but it just gives a better transitional look if you do. Okay, so continue now, guys, and I will see you at the end of this round. For round number 12, it's very simple again. You'll just this time be making 2 single crochet stitches first. So there's 1 and 2, and then an increase. So 1 increase is finished right there. So we've got 1, 2 single crochet stitches followed by an increase. And you're just going to repeat that all the way around until you have a total of 24 stitches in this round number 12. And there we go. So we've just finished that round right there. That was round number 12. Now for rounds 13, 14, 15, and 16, so that's a total of 4 rounds, you're just going to be making single crochet stitches in every stitch space. So that will be 24 single crochet stitches for each round for the next 4 rounds, which is rounds 13, 14, 15, and 16. So I'll let you guys do that, and then we'll come back ready for round number 17. Okay, so we've just finished those 4 rounds right there, 13 to 16, and now we're up to round number 17. So for round number 17, pretty simple. We've got 2 single crochet stitches first, followed by an invisible decrease. So we'll just make that right there. And let's just repeat that another 5 times. 1, 2 single crochet stitches first, followed by an invisible decrease. So that's the front loop again, pull through and pull through. I want you to repeat that another 4 times and finish off the round number 17. And finally for round number 18, well, actually there's 2 rounds to go. So for round number 18, we're just making a single crochet stitch first, followed by an invisible decrease, just like that. And you're going to repeat that a total of 6 times, single crochet stitch first, followed by an invisible decrease, until you have 12 single crochet stitches or 12 stitches in the round. So that's the 3rd time we've repeated that pattern. Single crochet stitch first, invisible decrease. There we go. 5th time, single, invisible decrease, and last time, single crochet stitch and final invisible decrease right there. Finish off that round for those of you doing slip stitch and chain 1, just like that. Now we're going to pull this a little bit further because at this point we want to fill up our stitch Labubu with some fiber filling. So grab your fiber filling and start inserting it inside the body. And all I want you to do here is use a pair of cutters or something that can really push this fiber filling inside and condense it quite nicely as well as you're doing it layer by layer. Try and do like little by little as you go, and that will help to fill it up nice and evenly all the way to the top. So I'll let you guys do that, and once you finish, come back and we'll finish the last round of the head slash body together. And there we go, everyone. So we just filled that all the way to the top right there, and we have one last round to go. This is round number 19, and we will do it as follows. We're just going to be making a total of 6 invisible decreases in this round. Now, if you crocheted in a spiral, just make 5 invisible decreases, and then in the next stitch space, you'll make a slip stitch. That's all I want you to do there for the spiral, those who crocheted in a spiral. But if you crocheted with a slip stitch and chain 1, make 6 invisible decrease stitches, and then make your regular slip stitch and chain 1 at the end of that round. So this is my 6th and final invisible decrease right here. I'm coming into the very first stitch space, and I'm going to make a slip stitch, and then I'm going to pull the yarn through as if I were chaining 1. Leave about a good 10 to 15 centimeters worth of yarn tail. Give it a little cut, and there we go. Now we need to close the gap at the very top here, which I will show you how to do right now. Alright, so in order to close this section or this gap at the top, you're going to use a sewing needle or a tapestry needle, whatever you have on hand, and you'll weave the yarn tail through the eye of the needle right there. From here, you're going to only work in the front loops of these remaining stitch spaces. So if you worked with a slip stitch and chain 1, you'll have 6. If you worked in a spiral, you should have 7. So let's work in the front loops only, coming through, and don't pull too much at this point. So just work in those front loops all the way around, weaving through the front loops of each stitch space that remains in that final round. So this is number 4, number 5, and we should have one more after this over here. And what we're going to do now is, notice how I've kind of pulled this up so it doesn't lag its way down the side. And I'm going to pull this in a clockwise direction, so pulling this way, and watch how we close the gap right here. There we go. So gap is now officially closed. Just like that. I sort of flatten it and press it so I don't have any protruding pieces of yarn coming out. Now I'm going to enter the needle through the center, and I'm going to come out anywhere where there's flesh pink yarn. I'm going to pull through, and watch how I close the gap even more at this point. Just like this. And then I'm just going to poke that through so it's nicely secured right there. And then finally, to weave this in at the very end, as you can see, because I've used yarn under, yarn over, we have this sort of cross or this diagonal shape that comes across here. From here to here, or from here to here. So I'm going to use that lining to have this yarn tail woven across those stitches. So here we go, to the diagonal right there, and we might do this total of 3 times. So 1, and then here will be number 2, and then here will be number 3. Alright, so here we go, guys. So we just made those 3 little stitch, sort of sewing across those stitches in the direction of the stitch angle that we've gone, and I've done that enough time to secure it in place, and then I'll just cut the excess yarn, and you can poke in any remainder inside that space to hide. And there we go. So that finishes off our body and head, as you can see here. So it's looking very good. Okay everyone, so at this point we are now going to start making the hood. So let us just get some royal blue yarn right here, and then we will start working this by making 6 single crochet stitches inside a magic ring. So let's do this now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and finally number 6. There we go. Now we're going to pull this yarn tail at the end here just to close this magic ring, and then from here we'll come into the very first stitch space, and I'm actually going to have this yarn tail over the top so I don't have to weave it in later, and then I'll make my slip stitch and chain 1. I can continue weaving this through if I want to. In the second round we're going to be making 6 increases. So here's 1. The first increase is now finished. For number 2 I might just weave this over 1 and 2, maybe one more time just to secure it all in place, and then I can cut that excess there. So this is the third increase now. Now I'm going to leave this yarn tail at the end here. I'm not going to weave it in any more of those stitches. This is the 4th increase, the 5th increase, 1 and 2, almost 2, just kind of slip there, and finally number 6th increase. There we go, and I will finish as well with a slip stitch and chain 1. Now for round 3 we're just going to make single crochet stitch followed by an increase, and we're going to repeat that pattern all the way around till you have 18 stitches in the third round. For the 4th round we're going to do the following. So we'll make 2 single crochet stitches first, followed by an increase, 1 and 2 single crochet stitches in that same stitch space. Let's just repeat that all the way around, and you will have a total of 24 stitches after round number 4. For round number 5, all we will do here is just make a total of 24 single crochet stitches for the round. So that's round number 5, 24 single crochet stitches. Okay, so for the next round, which we'll actually call a row, we are going to make 16 single crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, I'll do this with you guys, 5, 6, 7, 8, halfway, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, not 14, this one will be 14, 15, and 16. And that's where we'll stop, right at that point. Then we will chain 1 and turn, just like that. We are going to repeat this 16, chain 1 and turn another 6 times. So this is the second, technically, if I said another 6 times, this is the first time, and then after this you'll have another 5 of these to go. So I'll let you guys do that for the next 6 rows, with this being the first. I'm up to this last row right now. This is stitch number 15, and finally stitch number 16, just like that. Now I'm going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then I will connect it straight to this very stitch right here with a slip stitch and pull the yarn through. This is where we're going to pull the yarn through. Leave yourselves about a good 20 centimeters of yarn tail, just like that. So that's a decent hood right there. And now you don't have to flip it upside down, but we are going to cut this. If you never wove this in, weave it in now, but since we already wove ours in, we're just going to directly cut that off right there. Okay, so at this point we can actually fit this onto the head. So you may need to like stretch it just a little bit, or maybe even before you do that slip stitch you could do this as well, but it's really up to you. I can fit this over, so it's more than fine for me. So I'm going to fit that through, have this headpiece on right here. I probably will end up sewing this in a few places, so I'm just going to grab a pin. So see how I've got the top portion, and that's going to connect from the very center right there oops, don't want to go through there, into the center of my head. I hope you saw that. And there we go. So that's how it's going to look, guys. And you are going to sew it just along the back here, just to secure it in place, and probably just along the top here, not down here, because you don't want it to be visible. And I'll do that with you at the same time. So you can even go ahead and sew that now, actually. So I've got my sewing needle. I've fixed this hood on at the top, so it's kind of aligning with these arms at the same time. And now all I'm going to do is just sew it in place in a few different spots. So I'm going to come out along the bottom here and just sew it in as best as I can. I'll just come through some of these stitches here. Make sure you can see this. Come through here maybe. Grab this stitch. Just pull it down. And I'm just going to continue this along the base. Just in a few different spots to make it easy for myself. Maybe over here. That's probably all I'll need. I won't need to go across here. So along the base, that's fine. And now, just secure it across the top, just in a few spaces as well. Don't pull so hard if you can, and just follow the lining of the stitches. So I'm going to come out around here. Notice how I am not right at the top here, but I'm kind of the row beneath it. And then I will move back a little bit and just repeat. So I'll come out maybe here. Don't pull too hard. And come down here. So I'm just like making sure the alignment of those the sewing across those stitches makes it not obvious that I've sewn across it. That's all you want to make sure that you're doing. And maybe over here. Again, I'm just choosing or singling out specific areas or spaces that I can sew this down, just so it's a little bit more secure in place. Hey, and if you feel like it doesn't need to be sewn in place, that's completely up to you as well. You might want to remove a removable head or hood. The only thing is you will be sewing the ears onto it, so you might at that point want to secure it in place. But totally up to you guys and how you want your Labubu stitch to be. I will probably have another pattern with just Labubu as well that I can have for you guys in the coming weeks or so. But for now, enjoy this one. Okay, that's enough. We're going to chop this. This is the excess yarn. I'm going to grab the needle, push that excess back inside because we don't want to see that. Take out the pin. We no longer need that. And look at that, guys. We have a very cute looking hood with our body. We've still got the face to do. We've got the ears to add on, but we're getting there. So let's continue on now with the ears. Okay, so for the ears, it will come into two parts. So the first part, you'll use pink yarn. And then the second part, you'll use blue yarn, and then you'll attach them both together. So start off with pink, and start off by making a slip knot. So you're just going to twist this and make a regular slip knot, just like that. Now you're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We'll start in the second loop from the hook, and we're going to make 4 single crochet stitches. So there's 1, 2, and just sort of push it out a little bit so it doesn't get trapped there, that first stitch. Number 3 and number 4. Now in this very last loop or chain, you're going to make 5 single crochet stitches. 1, same space, 2, same space, 3, again same space, 4, and lastly same space, and make the 5th one just like that. Now you'll start in the next or the back end of these chains, and I'm going to weave this yarn tail in just for a couple of those stitches, and you'll finish off with 4 single crochet stitches. So there's 1, weave it in, 2, the third one coming up right now, 3, and finally in this last space, number 4. Now kind of push this open so you can see that very first stitch that you made. Enter your hook into that very first stitch and make a slip knot and chain 1. Cut off your excess yarn tail over this part. Okay, so that is round 1 now complete. For round number 2, this is what we're going to do. Make 4 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. From this point, you are going to make an increase in the next 5 stitch spaces. So here is the first increase. Here is the second increase. The third increase. The fourth increase. And finally, the 5th increase. 1 and 2. Finish it off now with 4 single crochet stitches. 1, 2. Make sure you're always working in the front and back loops. 3. And here's number 4. Finish it off with, in the very first stitch space, with a slip stitch and chain 1, just like that. For round number 3, we'll do the following. Make 4 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4, followed by single crochet stitch first, then an increase. 1 and 2. And you want to repeat that pattern, single, increase, another 4 times. Single, increase, single, increase, single, increase, 1 and 2, and last one, single and increase, 1 and 2. Then finish it off with 4 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, oops, 3, and finally number 4, just like that. Come into the very first stitch space and make a slip stitch. Now it's at this point where you can just chop a little bit of a yarn tail. It doesn't have to be big, actually probably less than that, because we'll be hiding that anyway. So there we go. Here is the first part of the ear. Now let's continue with doing the exact same thing but in blue. Do not chop the yarn though once you get to the end. So I'll wait till you get to the end and then we will continue on together. So make the blue one right now. Okay, so I've just finished with the slip stitch and chain 1 on that one to the 3rd round right there. And from this point, we're going to connect the pink. So we want the pink on the outside as well. This is the good side. And we'll connect it on so that those inner sides are facing to they're facing together. And then we're going to start doing the following. So make sure you know the way that you're going to single crochet that together. So this is what you're going to do. I've already chained 1 here. I'm going to come into my very first stitch space, come here and also come to the very first stitch space. And this is the opposite because you've turned it the other way around, right? So just make sure that's correct. And now I want to have this tail coming in here so that it is hidden away. So you can either have it come from the back or the front, completely up to you. I'll just move it in like this and kind of hold it in there. Actually, to make it easier for myself, I'll have it across the front just so I don't have to weave it in there later on. So there we go. So now I'm going to be making single crochet stitches all the way across in each stitch space. Go through those front and back loops and always check that you're going through them. That's the only thing. You don't want to be mistaken by only going through one little area, or maybe you'll skip something, which you don't want to do either. So there we go. So guys, continue that all the way and make a slip stitch at the very end, and then I'll show you how much yarn to cut off at the end as well. So just continue all the way around. Super simple, just working in those front and back stitches of your blue and pink part ears, and just working your way all the way around until you reach the end, and then we will make a slip stitch in the first stitch space. Alright, so we've worked our way all the way around there, and now we're coming into the very first stitch space, pulling that yarn and making a slip stitch just like that. Now from this point we are going to pull the yarn through and probably chop about a good 40 centimeters worth of a yarn tail right there. And there we go. that is the first ear complete. And I want you to repeat exactly the same thing. Pink first, then blue, going all the way around to finish the second ear. You want 2 ears in total. And there we go, guys. The 2 ears are now finished. We will sew these on a little bit later. We're going to try and create those claws and the teeth first, just because I think that will be easiest. So for the claws now, I'm just going to be cutting a piece of my white cotton yarn, and then I will take 2 strands of this and pull the remaining strands out. So now I just have 2 ply cotton yarn right here. And now from this point forward, we're going to do the following. You're going to make a slip knot. Actually, leave a little bit of a tail, just a little bit. It probably won't matter too much, but just a little bit of a tail. Make a slip knot like this and keep your stitches as tight as possible. We're going to chain 2 first of all. So chain 2, come into the first loop or the second loop from the hook, and you want to make a slip knot. Just like that. So that's my first claw right there. Let's do it again. 1 and 2, come into the very first or the second loop from the hook and make another slip knot. So that's my second claw. And then let's do one more. Chain 1, chain 2, and make sure these are relatively tight chains as well. You don't want to make them too loose. Pull that through and make a slip knot just like that. So there's 3. 1, 2, 3 claws right there. Pull this through. This is the exact same technique we're going to use for the teeth as well, by the way. So there we go. We've got our first foot type claw right there, and we're going to pin that to our body. So as you can see here, we've kind of pinned this to the base. So 1 round, 2 rounds, between rounds 3 and 4, kind of in line with this section. And then the very middle, so this here, this little cyan middle stitch is considered the middle of the body. So we have the other side of that claw foot right there, and we're eventually going to sew that in place along rows 3 and 4, just like that. Then you'll do the same for the second one and have it pinned from the middle coming out until the end of this body right here. You'll have a claw coming underneath the arm right here and a claw coming underneath the arm right here. So you're going to repeat this pattern an additional 1, 2, 3 times, so you'll have 4 in total, and then we will start sewing them all in place one by one. Okay, so I've just done one of the claws for the arms and one for the feet. I'm going to eventually pin these 2 here, but I'm going to sew these 2 first so you can see how it's done. And that way we don't have so many of these yarn tails in the way as well. So what I've done is for the foot, I've just put in this yarn tail through the eye of my needle, and you want a good sharp needle here. And then I've ended going through one of the stitches in and between rounds 3 and 4. So I'm starting off right here, as you can see. I'm just going to go anywhere at this point, it's not going to matter. And I'm going to pull that through, just like that. I will weave my yarn back through this stitch space because I don't need to use this and I want to hide that. And then I'm going to come somewhere in the center here and then just poke my needle through the top portion as best as I can. Just like that. So you can see here, I've got the top portion there, and then I'm going to go back inside this same space, and then I'm going to come out right here. That's the next stitch space across, and it kind of lines up with this center cyan piece right there. So I'm going to pull that. Now that's in place, and now I'm going to come right to the top section of my third or the first tooth, and when I say tooth I mean the claw, the triangle piece. I'm gonna push that through. I'm gonna come back into that same stitch, and I'm gonna come back where I began as well, just to secure that third or the first one over here. So I'm right there. Now I can take out this pin, I can take out this pin. I'm going to come behind just at the top here so I can more fully secure that in place. And then I'm going to come right here. I'm going to come out anywhere. It doesn't matter where, just as long as it's through a stitch space. Just like that. I'll pull it nicely together. And now with this one, I'm going to work my needle back in that stitch space and then come out and emerge in the same spot as my previous yarn tail. So I'm going to weave this through. And this is exactly what you're going to be doing every time you sew the teeth. And when I say the teeth, again, I mean the claws. I don't know why I say teeth. They look like teeth. And we are making teeth later, which is the same pattern. So here, I'm going to pull it in. So now we've got the feet claws. Look really good. We've got these two yarn tails emerging in the same space right here at the back. And then we're just going to tie it in a double knot. Just like that. And then we'll chop off the excess yarn. Now in the same way, since we've got the claws here under the arms, we're going to sew that in the same way. So I'll let you guys do that. Maybe I'll show you first. Hold on. Alright, so I've got my yarn tail here, and I'm going to begin by just coming into one of these stitch spaces. It can be anywhere. So I'll come maybe, where do I want it to start? Maybe over here. And then I'm going to come directly into the other end, where I want it to end up, so maybe about here. I'm going to pull that through nice and neatly. I'm going to come underneath that front section and then work my way back into the same stitch space, coming through the next stitch space along the side. That way I can work and get this middle claw secured in place, and then I'll work just right in the end space again. Coming down here and then working back through that stitch space. Take off this needle, don't need that anymore, and then I'll just make my way to work through and secure this very first claw at the beginning, because we didn't really secure that, we just had the yarn tail kind of connected from that section, if that makes sense. So hold on, I'll remove that as well just to make it easier for me. Come through the back end of this claw, there we go, we got it. And then come back in the same space, come out anywhere, it doesn't matter where, just as long as we have this yarn tail also going through that same space. So I'm going to come through here, pop my needle in that same space, grab this second yarn tail end. And this is why I like to have a little bit of yarn tail as we began, just so we can tie those two pieces together and secure them in place. I just want to make sure this is properly even, just so I can put it through the eye of the needle, because sometimes this can be, well, it is for me like the worst thing for me, especially if the eye of the needle is a little bit small. So pull that through, hopefully we get it, there we go, pull it all the way here. There we've got our lovely hand claws over there. It's looking really good actually, as you can see. And then we're just going to tie these two ends together to secure these two in place. So you can see we're getting a little bit creative here. We've used a little bit thinner strands of our cotton yarn. We've used 2-ply instead of 4-ply this time, just to make sure that those claws don't seem too big. If you don't have cotton yarn where you can easily pull it apart, try and get creative. See if you've got like some yarn threads that you can add together and then start crocheting from there. So I know you guys can do it depending on what yarn you have. Anyways, so we have made hand claw, foot claw, and you'll need to do the same right here and right here. So I'm going to let you guys do that on your own now, and then we'll come back together to start putting on the face and embroidering and making the teeth for the face, and then we will sew on the ears, and that will be the end of our Labubu stitch. And there we go, guys. So we've just sewn on the feet and the arm claws, as you can see right there. So now we are ready to begin the teeth, and we are going to use 4-ply cotton yarn just for this. So leave yourself a little bit of a yarn tail, not too much, it doesn't really matter there. And then just start off by making a regular slip knot. Once you've got that slip knot down, what you want to do is chain 2, come into the second loop from the hook, keep these stitches as tight as you can, and make a slip knot into the first. Make another 2 chains, 1, 2, come into the very first, and make a slip knot into the second. There we go. So we've got 2 teeth right now. Let's continue on. 1, 2, into the second loop from the hook, followed by a slip knot. So there's 3. 1 and 2, second loop from the hook, make a slip knot. There's the 4th tooth. 1 and 2, make a slip knot. sorry, not a slip stitch. Have I been saying slip knot the whole time? I hope not. Whoopsie, I haven't done that one very well. I'm going to repeat that. One and two. Come into the second loop from the hook and make a slip stitch. So that there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 2 more to go. 1 and 2, so chain 2, come into the very first or second loop from the hook, slip stitch, and 1. I've cut my yarn a little bit too short here. Whoopsies. 2. I should be able to get away with it though, if I can hold it well. And finally, make a slip stitch. There we go. I'm going to grab this yarn here and pull it through just to finish that all off. And there we go. There are my teeth. Make sure you straighten these up so it's all leaning the same direction, in the same direction, I should say. And that is what it looks like at the end there. Okay, so at this point, I've kind of just pinned these teeth along the bottom here. I'm not going to sew them right now because I'm going to use a thinner thread to sew this. But in the meantime, I'm going to create the nose, and then we're going to make the eyes as well. So let's start off with the nose. Let's grab our orange colored yarn, and I'm just going to create 2 ply thickness. So I'm going to pull 2 strands apart from my my orange colored yarn right there, and then I am going to weave this through my needle. We're going to sew the nose, and I'll show you how to do this. Fairly straightforward. It doesn't take too much brain power to do this. Just a little bit of coordination. So I've marked this with some pins. Honestly, what you're trying to do is form a triangle. So you're going across here and down to this section here. This is why you want a very sharp needle, because I'm not working in these stitch spaces. I'm kind of in between those stitch spaces. As you can see, we're making that triangle. So I'm going to come through anywhere at this point, maybe around the side. I'll come out one of my pin places to start the nose. So maybe about that much. Then I'm going to go across. So at least I know where the nose kind of finishes at that point. Coming out at that midsection right there, pull like that, and then I'm just going to keep weaving until I create the thickness and the shape that I want for that triangle nose. That's all we're doing right here. So I'm just going to keep working through those 3 little areas where I've come out. So come back down here and kind of just use your nails and stuff to kind of direct it so that you're working as best as you can to fill in the space. So maybe one more here, and then I'll have my sort of finger directed right here so I can forcefully push it towards the middle, and I might just have one that comes directly at the top here. You need a sharp needle to get in this weird sort of middle stitch space right here, and then I'm going to end at the top here so I can tie those 2 yarn pieces together. And I just want to direct this as well, so I use my nail and finger nice and slowly there. You can see we've got a beautiful triangle right there. So I'm going to tie these 2 pieces now together in a double knot. So that's 1. Whoops, camera wobble, sorry about that. Here's number 2, and then I will cut these 2 pieces. It's just excess. And then push this right inside the body to hide it. There we go. So just created the nose, as you can see right here. And now it's time to start creating our closed formation of our eyes. Okay, so for our eyes, we're going to just use 1 strand of our 4-ply black colored yarn. I'm just going to pull 1 strand out from our 4-ply cotton yarn. Use our same very sharp sewing needle, or in my case, a leather needle. I'm going to pull that through, and I've kind of pinned these in place. We've got the center portion here working up, side, and middle. So let us begin. I'm going to maybe start right down here, or maybe even below that. just so I don't have it in the way. Then have a look where that pin is and poke my needle through that. Then I can remove the pin at that point. So come out here. We're going to be making the two eyes together. Okay, so first pin up here, and then come back through that little space right there. Remove the pin and pull. Alright, so we're ready for the second pin here now. So here we are. I'm going to come right here and then work straight in that same stitch space at the back there. Remove the pin, pull nice and slowly. Done. And then we have our final pin right here. We're going to pull through it just like that. And then we're going to start from the other side. So we'll try and keep it as symmetrical as possible as well. Pin it if you like, just so you can see where the eye placement is. But there's the first eye, as you can see here. We're looking great. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side, and you guys can do it too. Just pin, start maybe up here, across and across, just like that. And then we will have finished the two eyes. So let's do that now. I just finished that, so I'm just working that last little eye piece right there. And now you can see this looks symmetrical. I've got my two yarn tails down here. And I'm going to tie them together in a double knot as we have normally been doing. So this is perfect. Just like that. And then we chop this off and we can push that in at a later stage. Now we just have this mouth to kind of get sorted here now. So we are going to try our best to do this at this point. I'm just going to pin it in place where I think it is suitable. It's going to pin down here as well, because remember the mouth kind of travels all the way up. Just like that. Okay, so what we want to do here is grab some white yarn, but just like a thinner strand, because we don't want to be using such thick strands right here. So I'll just use this, and I'll just pull maybe one strand apart. I'm going to remove this black, because we don't need it at this exact moment. And then I'm going to weave this through my yarn needle. We've been doing such a great job, guys. We're almost done too. And now I'm just going to work anywhere at this point. So I'm going to insert my yarn needle anywhere. That's what I mean. Then come through the top here. As long as it is the top, that's what I want to make sure I'm just getting in there. In that space. There we go. Leave a little bit of a tail right there. Then work my way back into that section. I'm going to also do the exact same to the other side to secure those end pieces in place. You can see like this, I'm working through that end piece, then I'm weaving it straight back into the same area. And now I want to kind of secure these pieces here. So I have to do my best for this. So I'm kind of working through a little portion of the teeth as best as I can. Even if it means just a couple of strands that I'm weaving through at a time. And this is why you want a really sharp needle. We're also going to kind of capture some of the bottom teeth, just so we can stick it in there. Don't need that anymore, but you can see what I'm doing. I'm kind of just working my way slowly across these teeth. I'll come through the bottom here, just to secure it all in place, and maybe somewhere across the side to get one of these teeth over here. You don't need to secure every single tooth. Maybe just one more across the side over here. As best as we can. You can see this is why I didn't want a thick piece. And then we just work our way back to the very beginning. And that is relatively secure, as best as we can do at this point. Feel free to use glue. I mean, I've never done it, but feel free to do that if you feel more comfortable just gluing it in place. Just be very careful how much glue you use, and because you don't want it to spread all over the face or have it like the different consistency, because when glue hardens it doesn't look that great if it's visible. So just be careful how you do that. And then with these two ends, they're already secured, so we don't need to worry about them. But I will have them come out at the same section, and then we'll just tie a knot and weave it inside. And I want to make sure. So one of them was over here, and I might come out actually in the same spot. So I'm going to have one come here, and then this one will also come here. Then we tie a knot and finish that. So I'll let you guys do that. And there we go. So I just tied a knot here and pushed that back into the head to hide it, and then I hid also that black knot as well. Now we just need the black to kind of come across the lining of the teeth, and then we should be done with the face. Okay, so we're doing that now. I'm just going to come maybe over here. It doesn't really matter where. Just work my way up. Leave some of that yarn tail over here. This has to kind of line along the base of this. So I'm going to go all the way to about here. And then I have to maybe secure this in a few different spaces just above the teeth. So this is how I'm doing it. I'm coming underneath and then going back here. I'll do the same maybe over here. Oops, oops, oops. There we go. Pull that through. Don't want to pull it too much through because I don't want to make it tight at this exact point, but you can see that's looking good. And then I'll do the same over here, and I will work my way back into this section. Where did I have the yarn? Kind of over there. I didn't really work this one very well, but there we go. So if I pull that, how's it look? There we go. That actually looks really good. So we'll leave it like that. And then for here, I just need to tie these two pieces together. If I needed to secure it anymore, I would by just using the same technique, but in maybe like the middle section over here, if absolutely necessary, just to make that smile, that weird looking smile look good. Okay, so there we go. The face is officially complete. I'll show you guys in just a moment. Let's weave this back into the head to hide. I'm just poking it around with my needle. There we go. And that is what the face looks like for our Stitch Labubu. Now all we have left to do is the ears, and we want to pin these in place, don't we? So let's move this around. Let's chuck this over here. Let's grab a couple of pins. This is like the beauty of having pins. Just don't poke yourselves, guys, as I have done multiple times. It is not fun, but that's okay. So I'm just going to pin it in a couple of spaces to keep it nice and secured. You want those ears to come up as best as you can. You can sew one at a time, completely up to you, but that's how it will end up being. Those ears want to stick up. If you want to have them further to the side, feel free to do so. Alright, so all I'm going to do here is, with my same beautiful leather needle, sewing needle, if you have, use that here. And there we go. So it's now through the eye of the needle. And all we will do at this point is just start sewing, guys. You sew the ear to the side of the head, and that's it. So I might come out like around here. You want to, and then, sorry, like around here, and then go through the back end. You don't want it to come through the pink. That's the only thing. Come through the back end over here. Pull that nice and tightly. And then maybe just go across like here, and then back into the head to kind of secure that in place. And then just work your way up again and secure that a few times, just going back and forth to really secure that in place. So again, I might come over here. Maybe just over here. I'll just do this like section by section for at least one stitch at a time. Come through all of these. Come through the back portion. You don't want to get the pink. Pull, pull, pull. Take this pin out. It already seems quite secured just like that. So I might just leave it as that, actually. And there we go. That's the first ear all secured. And you want to just do the exact same with the second ear. That is very secure. And then we will be finished. So I'll let you guys do the second ear on your own, and then we'll come back to show the finished result. Alright, so these two yarn tails have now emerged in the same little stitch space. We're just going to tie a good double knot here to keep it all nicely secure. Double knot now finished. Pack away and push in the excess yarn tail with knot back inside the head to hide it. This will only work if you've actually emerged in the same stitch space, those two yarn tails. If not, it's not going to work like that. You won't be able to get it inside the same stitch space. Okay. And there we go, guys. Now, feel free to add a keychain. Actually, this is adorable if you add a keychain or a yarn chain connecting from the center here. Chain 50 if you want, and slip stitch back, and then maybe add a keychain, or just directly add a, what would you call it? A non-stainless steel keychain so it doesn't rust. And that is the end of our beautiful stitch Labubu pattern, as you can see here. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, please give this a like, subscribe, and feel free to come back to this channel because we'll have many more tutorials. The patterns will be available soon in many different types of books, so enjoy, guys. Follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.